Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the live stream with my name is Matt Bailey, the National Ambassador for the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. Really exciting to have you back on again. I was live last night with cask 5.72 Scaramanga, one of the previews of Outturn, and I'm joined tonight with a very special guest. Instead of talking about just a particular whiskey, I'm joined tonight with the special guest, Krsna from BASIK Chocolates. We're going to have a chat about the ultimate chocolate and whiskey pairing that's coming up. I'm going to bring him into the stream. Please make him feel welcome in the comment section. Krsna, here he is. He's the man. Thank you so much for joining us, Krsna.
Hello. Thank you for letting me be a part of this. How are you, Matt? How is everyone?
Yeah. Well, okay, so let's just get some context here. You're in Brisbane.
Yes, I am in what they would say for housing chocolates in terms of weather-wise this summer. So it's good fun.
Yeah. How's your refrigeration bill look?
Oh, mate, expensive.
Yeah.
But it's good. It keeps everything going, so I'm happy.
Excellent.
Cool.
The reason we've got you on tonight, now I don't want to get any confusion from anyone coming through. The actual virtual tasting for this is on Friday, the 4th of December. We're really excited by that. So if you're reading the title of this video and it says the virtual tasting is tonight, it's not. This is actually just a preview for you to learn more about what's actually coming up. Big hello to James Finnegan. Good to see you, mate. Hope you're well.
Hey, James.
And everyone else who's tuning in right now, throw some comments in if we'd love to hear from you. If you turn to the inside back cover of your Outturn, we've got the ultimate whiskey and chocolate pairing going on right here. Now, I'll bring it up on screen. You know, rather than me holding it up for you to be able to see it all, I'm just going to bring that up on screen so we can all see that. You know what? Here we go. Now it's going to work. It'll work this time. I promise. Here we go. Look, I'm going to come back to that screen. There's something going on there. Bear with me. Anyway, we've got the ultimate whiskey and chocolate pairing. This is an opportunity for you and I to work together and pair with the society whiskies with your chocolates.
Yeah.
But before I go into that, I want to talk about some of the history. Like, how did you get into, like, where did this all come from for you? But people ask me that question all the time. Like, how do you get into whiskey? How do you get into chocolate? That's even more interesting.
Well, surprisingly enough, I was just I'm a home cook. I'm not formally trained, and I just loved experimenting. And it was just one of those times where, for some reason, I wanted to dabble in doing hand-rolled truffles. And there's the there you go. There's the photo. And it just so happened that I started with that, and then I started looking at. I think I came across an article about versatility in chocolate, and then I just was like, yeah, actually, surprisingly enough, it seems to really almost pair with everything. And then it was really strange. I almost had I think it was I'm not religious in any way, but it felt almost like divine intervention in some way, where I just sort of had, I don't know how else to explain it. I just had this idea where I thought, well, what if I gave myself parameters? And at the time, I was in this phase where I was actually trying out whiskeys. Like, I was in that early stages of trying whiskeys, probably about between 2016 and 17. And I was trying to get a grasp on what was going on. I had been to a couple of tastings with Dan Woolley hosting the Japanese whiskey tastings up here at the Gresham, and at the time as well, some Lefroy tasting as well, I believe. Then, started getting the ball rolling where a couple of mates.
Dan, by the way, we've had Dan Woolley on both the roundtable and this stream before, and big shout out to him, who's now working highwayman over in Byron Bay.
I know. And, seriously, if he's watching this, congratulations, good sir. Amazing stuff. Yeah. I hope I can get a bottle one day. Because it sells out way too quickly, man. I can't get there on time. And so yeah, well, I mean, like I got into the thing where I started watching whiskey reviews because I realized how expensive whiskey was as a young guy that was still like embarking on the uni days, and this was like early days of BASIK as well. I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and then chocolate. Yeah, exactly. Chocolate does pair with other chocolate. It's freaking awesome. And so we had this thing where I was watching. I don't know if you guys ever seen it. Ralphie reviews, the guy who's in the bothy. Yeah. So I started watching those, and then I started watching the German guy who does the whiskey reviews as well. I was Horst. Yeah. And I was like two like worlds apart in terms of the way that they did it, but then there was always a journey in with whiskey. And I always like even when someone started sort of getting me into wines and getting me to try different liqueurs and different types of booze, and I wasn't a big drinker, but but with whiskey the journey was always kind of almost clear, even in its subtleties to me and my palate. I started realizing that I was able to kind of pick up on things and pick up on notes. And I was like, what happens if you could sort of showcase that journey with chocolate? But then most of the time from while I was doing research was that everyone had about like sometimes 3, 4, 5 elements inside a tiny bonbon. And in my mind, I was like, well, this is probably not a good idea because, well, I mean, it's like going to a degustation menu, right? You sit there, you feel kind of uncomfortable as it is. You got to dress to the nines, and you just kind of just want to lounge around and enjoy the meal, And as a fat fuck, like I just want to eat. I don't give a shit about everything else. Like, ambiance is great service is expected. But like if I go for like a 7-courser and they tell me that this is going to be fucking amazing, I don't just want experience or flavor. I want both. I want flavor plus experience. Yeah, and so I just kind of like pushed my die line down that path, and that's where kind of Basic Chocolates came about. And that's where I like something that I can't wait to do for you guys is I'm going to narrate to you live these chocolates as we eat them with whiskey, and that's something that I love doing, and so that you actually get to see that journey right in front of you. And I don't write notes with these, and this isn't a flex, this is just my way, I guess, of palate training. I never write any narrations down. And anytime we do a recording for narrations, which we've only just started doing over the last 3 months, I literally eat it just before we're about to shoot. And then I do this weird thing where I'm kind of like mentally jotting down. And I remember that the guy that's been helping me do some of my video stuff has actually been taking the piss out of me by doing like little like bloopers where I'm just like, oh yeah, this, and it just looks like this like weird dude who's just getting like extra hysterical and excited at the same time because he's having like the chocolate for the first time. But it's good fun. Like, I mean, it's a good way to be kind of, I guess, natural about it, right? And it's the same with whiskey. Most people that do drink whiskey, they don't like bullshit. If you think about it from like a personality perspective, it's clean, it's straightforward, and even despite all the kind of differences with notes and regions and all of that, it still allows you to kind of have comfort. It always reminds you as a drink that brings comfort in your home. And I think food should, in some way, and chocolate in that way should have that respect. You can go as crazy as you want, which is what I love doing, but it still needs to be something that kind of like gets you orgasmic, right? That's the one that you want. You want that. You want that foodgasm. That's what you want.
Foodgasm or whiskeygasm, exactly. You want
that's it. That's it.
Do for this tasting is have them together and pair them.
That's right.
Just on the topic of pairings, I know we're jumping ahead a bit here.
Please.
There's a great question coming through from Jesse Morgan on the YouTube, who writes, whiskey and chocolate.
Yeah. Is there a place for white chocolate? If so,
no. We'll take this one first. So whiskey and chocolate are two amazing worlds. How do you make sure that one does not become dominant over the other?
So I guess it depends. So with basic chocolates, everything revolves around two core flavors, or a maximum it would have a third component within it in a flavor perspective, so that it either draws something out of the whiskey and accelerates it to a high rate, or what it does instead is it kind of amplifies the cohesiveness or the displacement of those flavors, which is one of the cool things. So with the tasting boxes that we're doing, we're going to be doing 2 of each, right? So if you're not sharing this with someone, this would be actually a really awesome opportunity where if you were to try it on its own, I guarantee you it will be, the journey in itself will be nothing. And I guarantee you nothing like what you think it would be when you have it with the alcohol and the booze and the scotch. And that's why I'm really excited, because
Right.
you get this weird change. So okay, let's do an example. So over here up in Brisbane, I'm going to give a shout out to my man Sean Restrick Barton. If he's watching, he runs a supping club event here in Brisbane for I think almost like 2 or 3 years now, and they do this thing where we do 4 whiskeys every month, and it's always themed. And I got to do I was fortunate enough to do a chocolate pairing for the group of them. I think 2 months ago, and we did something just so you guys have an idea. We had the Ardbeg, the Korrivecken.
Yep.
And we did a white soy. I did a white soy sauce caramel ganache with a
Go again.
a white soy sauce caramel ganache, but with a toasted almond and buckwheat praline. And that was in a tasting pack of the month before that, and that was the #1 pick for every customer, because all it was just pure, like, it's just umami. So from the white, so like, you think soy sauce, right? So the first thing that comes to your mind is you're thinking salty, but you're thinking that fermented soy, right? That rich dark soy sauce to get in fried rice. But white soy sauce, being something a little bit more refined, actually goes back a little bit by step, and it actually almost has, like, if you ever have white soy, it's really it's sharp on the tip of your tongue, it's sweetish, and then all of a sudden it just drops. Like, the moment it hits the midsection of your palate, it just drops. It, like, falls off the radar. You can't get anything else anymore. And this is where then the buckwheat takes over and starts climbing up.
Okay.
So you get toasted rice, you get all of those things. So the peatiness and the earthiness comes first. Even though the top element, if you were to have the white soy sauce ganache on its own, should actually come first. But when we had it with the booze, it came after. And then the soy was almost non-existent, but then the salt, the sea, the notes that are like iconic Ardbeg, that becomes more profound. So it's about like identifying those elements and then pulling that out, you know? So it's like you're almost kind of carving like an anecdote of a story, if that makes sense. It's like, you know, you have this massive story that goes maybe for, you know, it's a short story. It goes maybe 15, 20 pages. And then here's an anecdote. Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you can, absolutely, 100%.
So you're saying that it's almost like it's a journey of the flavor from beginning to end, and there's different elements that affect the flavors as you go.
Yeah, and it affects the flavors of the whiskey too. Like, in the sense that it's either complementary, or it has a displaced effect. And when I say a displaced effect, I mean that it isolates really specific elements and makes it compounds the effect by dialing it up like 10 rounds. So for example, this is non-whiskey related, but it's one of the weirdest pairings ever. The very first time I did a live degustation event, we had I did this Tahitian vanilla bean and coffee bonbon, right? So at the time, Tahitian vanilla beans didn't cost your left kidney. Right now, there's a bit of a shortage in the world, so it's something that's a bit hard to get. But one of the cool things about it was I had the guys at the Wine Emporium help me out with some pairings, because at the time I was still a little bit unaware and still trying to figure out something. But they were like, "Hey, I know that you are interested in doing whiskey, but we think this would go really well with whiskey. But can we interest you in something else that is like the weirdest thing, right?" So they pulled out this opened bottle of La Strega Sambuca, and I was
Right.
like, "Oh shit!" Like, I don't think Sambuca and me has never worked well during the
No,
early
no.
18-year-old days. For most people, most people it hasn't. Look, if you're
No.
in the comments and you drink Sambuca, um, like, I'm trying not
Shout
to
out. Yeah.
judge. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
put it
shout
that
out.
way, right? And so, but strangely enough, this La Strega Sambuca, they sort of explained it to me. It was something that was really unique. It had this beautiful bouquet floral note before that aniseed note actually kicked in. And interestingly enough, being a very dominant coffee-based coffee flavored bonbon, so to speak. So lots of espresso actually used into creating this. What we
Right.
found was that what you could smell, right? So you know how when you nose a glass, that's one of the big things that we do, right? With whiskey, we're always taking our time to nosing it. We keep our mouth open when we're doing it. What we notice when we nose the glass at the start of the drink, and this is also something that we found over a few rounds, even with whiskey, wine, gin, any spirit, I think in nature has this weird effect where our brain seems to go on what we can kind of latch onto first. It's really strange, right? So from the olfactory cue, you're smelling the aniseed. So
Mm.
immediately the closest thing that comes through after the first bite is actually the vanilla. But then the
Right.
vanilla becomes spicy, which you will only ever get when you're thinking about things like bourbon, or you're
Right.
thinking
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
things with like that oak finish, right? So that higher note
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
terms of
Yeah.
spice, which is really strange. But then the moment you finish that chocolate and you nose the glass, even though you're tasting all this aniseed now all of a sudden, as opposed to vanilla spice, and you're tasting burnt coffee notes, as soon as
Mm.
that flavor dissipates and you nose your glass and it's an empty glass, it smells like
Mm.
burnt coffee.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't.
It
So
shouldn't.
like it's just, but again, like it has this beautiful, like unexplainable journey when it comes to pairings, and that's why I'm stupidly excited. I'm like beyond ready
Yeah.
to
This
have
is
fun with
exciting.
this. I've got to, yeah.
This
So
tasting is super exciting, and I've actually got my other screen working now for those who. So I can just bring this
awesome.
up to see. There's the outturn cover that I showed before. If you want to read more about this particular tasting, I'm chatting with Krsna from BASIK tonight, where he and I have collaborated on this event to create whiskey and chocolate pairings, or as we're calling it, the ultimate chocolate pairing. There it is, and it's Friday the 4th of September. Friday the 4th of December at 7:30 p.m. AEDT. That'd be 6:30, of course, if you're in Brisbane. But this is it's available to everyone around the country if you're a member of the society, and you're putting together some remarkable flavors, which we've been talking about. And you mentioned one yesterday, which I just want to touch on. Or was it today?
Of course,
No,
man. Yeah, definitely.
There's a whiskey in there which we've listed on the back page. 1.227, A Merry Adventure. What was going on
Yes,
with that one?
is that the Glenfarclas?
I couldn't possibly say the name of the distillery, but you might.
Hang on. I actually have it open. I actually have it open here. Yes, it is the Glenfarclas. Absolutely. Okay, so I remember this. So I'm a massive sherry fan. For or sherry finished sherry cask finished whiskeys. I like anything, right? It's pretty hard to kind of like push me away from whiskey. Hey, the man, the myth, the legend. Okay, I don't know who that is, but hello.
Who wrote that?
Very strange.
Yeah.
And so look, it's got this. Look, in that description that you provided me, the of the journey, that in itself is already exciting. So And we had Lachlan. Seriously, I don't know about Distillery One, but Seamus, yes, Mr. Carroll.
Mr.
There you
Carroll.
go. Yeah, of course. Yeah, we all know Mr. Carroll. That's right.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
will, Carroll.
And so we had I had this idea to do sort of a Christmas pudding idea. And the thing is, I noticed that Jesse asked a question before, is there a place for white chocolate? So I'm going to go back a little bit, right? Because I want to answer almost two questions in a...
Yeah, we'll come back to that one. We'll just go from the ones on
Well,
the
so just to give you an idea, white chocolate is made out of cocoa butter, right? So it doesn't have cocoa mass in it, and it doesn't have any cocoa solids. However, when you get that beautiful shine on chocolate, or you get that wonderful snap and finish, what you're actually trying to do is you're actually trying to temper, or is the more generic term, but the correct term would be actually crystallization, right? So you're trying to create crystallization of cocoa butter in order to, so the correct terminology is beta 5 crystals, right? So we're diving a little bit deeper here. But so realistically, because of that, you can't really say that white chocolate's not chocolate, right? Because it still has cocoa butter, so it still has that shine, that snap, and that finish. And this is what I mean by coverture chocolate. So that there is a good example. And so, cocoa butter is existent in all three: dark milk, white. So ideally, you can't really say that it's not chocolate. And the white chocolate that I use is definitely going to blow you guys into this. I have lots of questions, but that's fine. We'll answer them, man. Don't stress. And so with your answer to white chocolate and answer to Matt's question as well, this would technically not be chocolate because it does have a few missing components. But there's a way to create covertures so that you still have the finish, the snap, the shine, which you've had, by the way. And you've seen what it looks like. It's a beautiful thing. It's a natural color, natural finish. And so essentially what we do is we take the solid mass that would be required to create said coverture chocolate. So I'm saying this in inverted because it's technically not, because there is a missing gap there. But what happens is I've got Teague, who's a mad scientist out at Mr. Chester's Wine Bar, who's the chef there, and he's just coming up with a business called Brisbane Pickle Co. And he's crazy into fermented foods. And so what he does is he's been working on a few ideas, and one of the ideas that we're working on is fermented plums. And so with fermented plums in a lacto ferment, similar to like the Noma practice of doing that with something. So it's a lot of fun.
We've got a member in Melbourne who experiments quite a bit with fermentation and does his own kimchi and his own miso and all sorts of stuff like that.
It's a lot of, it's crazy the type of development on flavor you could get from fermented goods. It's nuts. It's beyond, and I'm only just barely skimming on the surface based off from Teague. And so he's added some spices into it as well, just to impart some more flavor. So your cinnamons and your star anise, excuse me, and stuff like that. And so what we've done then is we've dehydrated said mass of fruit. And it gives us obviously fuck all after you dehydrate something like plums. And then what we do is we break it down into a refiner, where it goes down to the same particle sizes as chocolate, which is like below 25 microns, so that you get the same smoothness, the same mouthfeel, that same velvety release that you would get from chocolate, but it's actually fruit-based.
I think I can agree with Darren's comment here, where he says that Krsna is definitely a mad chocolate scientist. Our mouths are watering already. Honestly,
mate,
you do talk like I often get on what I like to call my sort of Monday rant, or my soapbox session of going ranting about something quite technical in whiskey, and you sound like you the same if given the opportunity.
Oh, dude, man, I feel like I won't shut up. That's the sad part.
No, it's good. It's good. I love your passion for
I'm
it because
kidding. I'm
you are
kidding. I'm kidding.
you're a scientist
Yeah,
of
yeah.
this.
No, thank you, thank you.
This
No,
realm of
thank you guys. I appreciate it. I'm
flavor
really.
creation.
I can't wait for you guys to try it. It's. I think it's going to be really fun. So, we're going to be doing so instead of having that traditional chocolate like a dark, a milk, or a white. This gives you a couverture shell. And so the couverture, the shell of the chocolate itself, and because it's quite intensely fruity, it and that plums are there with all the other subtle elements in there. So the shell would be that. However, the interior itself would be like a vanilla bean with a bit of, with a bit of that kind of more creamy texture. So it almost replicates the idea that you're having something like, like a pudding, like a plum pudding. So
Yeah.
this way, yeah. So it emulates the similar structure of the Glenfarclas piece in the Merry Adventure, because it gives you that it follows through with the journey. But the one thing that I'm hedging my bets here, because again, we're never going to know until the day of trying this, which is going to be the best part. But I feel very strongly.
We sent you samples of all those. You've
I
tasted
know,
them.
but then I've never tasted them with the chocolate.
Right.
So this is going to be the fun part, and I'm going to be doing that live with you guys.
Yeah, that's
so.
Going to be
I'm literally going to be narrating it to you as I've literally tried it, and I want to keep it that way because
if we can just appreciate the fact that this isn't just sort of like a box of chocolates coming with some whiskey samples, and just as it isn't your ordinary commercially available whiskey, these are been made to these whiskeys, and that's the part which you go, that's insane to begin with, and the fact that there's so much sort of, I guess, almost like nerdy science that's gone in behind it to say like this. It's the science of flavor, if you like.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's for me, it's all about hitting the olfactory notes, right? If you can play with something that allows people to feel, something that might be of a memory from the past, even whether it's drinking something or it could be something even deeper and more meaningful. Hey, look, gold star, right? But for me, the biggest thing, even on top of that, is if I can get at least one culinary orgasm out of one of these pairings from you guys, I'll be fucking stoked. So that's exactly what I want. So I'm hoping that you guys get that. What's my opinion of Lindt? Look, oh man, so like Lindt has a commercial range, right? They have a commercial range for chocolate. And I think that from a price point thing, it's good for some people because it's quite cheap and accessible to get. Because they're mass producers of said product. They're probably like the real base range when it comes to accessible couverture chocolate. Yeah, I just saw that. I was like, damn.
That's already trending, by the way.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. But the thing is, it's like with Lindt, it just like it's like having certain blended whiskeys off the shelf. It can only take you so far in the journey. It probably satisfies part of that journey and that craving, but it's like Macca's to fucking fat duck. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like it's like, think of it as like the chocolate up version of Macca's grilled. Fuck it, let's throw it in there. But
I mean, Lindt is mass produced. I mean, just like it's
not bad. It's not bad. I don't think it's bad in any way, shape, or form. It serves its purpose on what category it's in. So the chocolate that I use.
You sound as diplomatic on Lindt as I do when people ask me about blended whiskies. Matt, what do you think about Shiver's Regal? Well, I think it serves a purpose, and it's
that's it.
But they do. I mean, blended whiskey does serve a purpose in the market, just like Lindt serves a purpose in the market. And,
absolutely.
It's a good question. And
it's an awesome question. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, look, we're gonna wrap it up there. We've taken some great questions. We're really looking forward to this event coming up. The details of when that pack goes on sale have been scrolling on the bottom there for a few minutes. It goes on sale this Friday, the 6th of November, a week before Outturn. Outturn is, of course, Friday, the 13th of November, which we're really excited to bring this to members around the country. The full virtual, the ultimate whiskey and chocolate pairing. Krsna from BASIK, thank you so much for joining us tonight. This has been
guys
great.
are legends. Matt, thank you so
intro
much,
to
man,
what's
for
come.
organizing this.
Oh, of course.
Sorry?
And it's an intro of what's to come, which is really exciting.
Yes,
this is
absolutely.
Like
yes,
where we're
absolutely.
heading
Thank you.
And yeah, don't go anywhere. And we'll just thank you again for being part of this, for being part of the society's whiskey fabric.
No,
as we
dude.
like.
No, thank you so much for letting me be a part of this. I am super, super excited. I've been wanting to dive deeper, and so this gives me the opportunity to dive even deeper with some more interesting drams as well. So hell
Why
yeah,
not?
we
Why,
can.
hell yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you,
Great
guys.
question. And thanks
Have
for
a great
everything.
night.
Cheers.
Done. Cheers.